G'day YouTube, my name's Lance. Welcome to Bundy Bear's Shed. Well, the weather report, 17 to 24 and showers today. So I've just been for a walk with the camera outside to show you what we've been doing over the weekend in the paddock tidying up along the fence line there and things like that. And it's looking nice and sunny at the moment, but look, just as the sun was coming up, there was a big dark bank of clouds to the south of us here. So they say we're going to get something, but they're saying it's only 1 to 4 millimetres or something like that. So yeah, we just don't know what's going to happen. So I thought I'd get in and have the walk around early in case I did the stew and the weather come in and we couldn't do anything else for the morning. So anyway, we'll see how we go. We'll chug along for the day. Yeah, on the weekend we decided to continue on with cleaning down the fence line where the excavator knocked all the trees and that out. And it's very lumpy, like there's high spots and low spots, and I've tried running along with the front end loader to smooth it out a bit, but there's that much grass and debris there that it gets, you get a ball of grass on the bucket, and then you have this trench for the length of it. So it wasn't working real well. So Chris Hurst, when he was shifting, he gave me an old toolbar, old thing that was in pieces that I think I showed you last week. So I've been eyeing that off, and yeah, on Saturday I thought, well, right, I'll put that together and get it going. The top link's seized in the bracket, and I've got to cut all that out yet. But anyway, look, we'll get there. It's working. It's doing what we need it to do. And so I've been scuffling up and down there, and I've got a couple of big balls of grass. Oh, you know, probably more than a couple. Big balls of grass there, and I've been dragging them off to the side. Then Judy had the Massey Ferguson 148 with the carryall, and she'd put the carryall and roll it onto the back of the carryall, and we take it to where we have the little fire out the front here going at the moment again. So yeah, but she must have overdone it. She's got a sore back. This last night and this morning she got a sore back, so she'll have to back off for a bit. And yeah, just muscles, and yeah, I don't know, as you get older you seem to get sore muscles. When you're a young bloke, yeah, nothing ever happens like that. But anyway, we'll see. But I've just been for a walk over the paddock and took the camera just to show you what I'm up to over there. And here's Sansa coming in just in the middle of the stew. And so yeah, I got that little toolbar on the back of the TEA. The TEA is running like a dream, the little thing. I still got that Chinese carby that I bought off Amazon there. And look, it's okay. It seems to be fine. It seems to have plenty of power. I've got the Fergie positioner on it. That's the Australian-made Fergie positioner. And I was reading that, if you need to not have the position control and have the draft control working, you can just pull the cap off the end of the arms and it'll go back to, and lock your 4 bolts up and it'll go back to drafting. But look, I had it drafting there. You'd come along and you start off deep, then she'd hit a root or something, and it was working. So perhaps not to its full capability, but it was working. So yeah, I had a great bit of fun on the weekend buggering around with that. Yeah, there's a lot of roots and sticks and things in there, and I've put quite a lot of work through this last week into the canopy on the back of the Landcruiser for going up to Cape York, and just things we wanted to do anyway, but the Cape York trip being a big one, we're putting a bit more effort into it. And so I spent most of the week last week on the cruiser, getting that sorted out, getting the aluminium cut, and I still have to buy a couple of different length bolts to finish it off how I'd like it, but look, it's pretty good. So I've shown a walk around that at the end, what we're up to there. And we've always had an arm I built years ago to come out towards the front. We've used it at tractor shows and that, so because we just camp in the ute, we don't have a caravan or that anymore. We swing that around and we put an ensuite enclosure there, and that gives us a privacy screen, so if Jude wants to get changed, or we put a portable toilet in there if we're away from amenities and things like that. And we've always had to have a tent pole here with a rope back to the cruiser, then another couple of tent poles out here with ropes down, and it's always been a bit of a rigmarole setting it up. And I've made a bracket to go on the scrub bars on the cruiser, so we can fold it out, pop a bar in and hook the ensuite on and we're done. But I found yesterday in the trials that the arms of the ensuite hang quite low, and they've only got like 3mm bolts in there. So that's this week's job. Strip that out, drill bigger holes, put perhaps a full strip of alloy or mudguard washers in there, and try and support those arms a little bit more. We may still have to take 2 tent poles just to support the front of the arms, but with the back frame being stable on the back of the Landcruiser, we found that there's no need to run ropes and all that. So if you want it up quickly, it's easy to do. So I put a bit of time into that, Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, you know, fit it, oh that's shit, change it. And I welded brackets onto exhaust clamps and strapped them on, but there's a little video of that at the end as well. I was going to make the shafts for the clutch pivot on the Massey 65 here, on the gearbox here. I got all the gearbox assembled, and I've got to tell you a story about that. Last Tuesday I got the gearbox assembled. All I have to do now is put the selector rails in and film that, and I was just running out of time. So, and I run out of time because of my own doing. When you look into the bell housing, you have your top input shafts and you have the bottom one. And I did a video a while back on whether you can pull that PDO shaft out the front or out the back. And the early 35s and that, like that 6-speed I pulled apart, you could pull it out the front, but on mine, on the 65, I had to go out the back. So I got a new bearing in there, everything's set up, and I'm filming away and, you know, bring this forward and put the snap ring on, and I could get the washer on, but no snap ring. And the bolts that came out of that housing, you know, the 4 bolts that hold it in, the later ones have a tin plate with a little bulge there, but the early ones have oh look, it's probably 5mm plate there. And anyway, I took the bolts out of that and I put 2 bolts in to hold it back against the shaft and the gear, and I had a couple of dowel bolts that I'd made for, you know, putting the planetary on the back there. And like, I never had them before, but for filming you need to on and off, so that's just how it works. And so anyway, I'm trying to put this bottom snap ring on the PDO gear, and you think I could get that damn thing on? It was about the thickness, well, not quite a full thickness of the snap ring, and it wouldn't go on. And so I had the PDO shaft out and I put it back in and I bumped it in, make sure it was home. I pulled the front section off again, had a look at the bearing, knocked the bearing out of the housing again, measured my old bearing with the new Sparex bearing. It spot on. The Sparex bearing might have been a fly pup narrower maybe. Put it back on, and I couldn't get that damn snap ring on. So out comes the parts books over on my bench over there, and I'm looking at the bloody parts books, and I'm checking that I've got the washer in the right place, because the washers are different on the different ones, different shapes. And I'm checking that, and I'm checking the circlips, and look, it had me buggered for a couple of hours, and I'm thinking, buggered if I know, and I'd put it back in and do the bolts up, and away we go. Anyway, the penny finally dropped. When I was putting the bolts in to hold the thing in, because the front plate wasn't there, they were going through and just touching the gear inside and just holding that back. And I felt a fool. But anyway, that's just how it is. If I'd done it, so other people might do it. So I ended up getting the 2 bolts off the selector rail retainer at the back of the gearbox on top of the high-low, pulled them out, pulled the longer bolts out, put the short ones in, it slid forward, popped the snap ring on, and away we went. But I just couldn't see the bloody thing being like that. But look, it was, and it was just about the thickness of the snap ring, why the snap ring wouldn't go on. So if you get caught like me, and it was just, I thought, well, those bolts, I'll just screw them in, they'll be okay. And I didn't think for a moment that they'd hold the snap ring from going on. But look, I lost a couple of hours buggering around with that, out and in and out and in, and I'm out and measuring everything, and there was no mark on the gear where the bolts were touching, but they were only just touching lightly, and that was holding, and there was enough room that where the gear meshed with the top gear, the gear could just pop back that little bit, and yeah, away it went. So anyway, live and learn. I've left that in the filming, and I was trying to get that edited last week, but you would not believe the week we had last week. I had it at work ready to edit and all that, and just one thing after another, and visitors and accountants meetings, and it was just incredible. So anyway, no, apart from the stew and the clothesline, no other editing got done, but I do have the videos done for that. I just got to try and get to it this weekend. Anyway, see how we go. Last week I mentioned the tax bill, and I've got a few comments on paying tax and that. For you overseas people, we have a thing called provisional tax, and because we're selling the business, Queensland Tractor Spares, some of the YouTube revenue, and look, it can be $12,000 for the year sometimes, $1,000 a month roughly. Look, sometimes it's 900, sometimes it's 1,100, sometimes it's more, but if we work on say $12,000 income, and that's how come that's what I spend on me Renegade toolboxes and things like that. You know, I keep it in the shed, and that's what bought the David Brown tractor, and that's what bought the Bedford truck and things like that. So yeah, I buy little tractors. And the Howard rotary hoe for the TEA Howard reduction one, and the Howard reduction tractor. So YouTube income, it certainly helps a lot. It dropped to buggery lately, but yeah, I don't know. I don't try and understand how it works, but I do appreciate the bit that we get. And anyway, it was just getting incorporated in Queensland Tractor Spares, and because we're selling Queensland Tractor Spares and we're keeping Bundy Bear's Shed as my hobby, my retirement hobby, we've had to separate it all. So the government sent me a tax bill, and so they want 25% of it up front. So I thought, oh well, so I suppose there's a 3,000. Well, the bill was a bit more than 25%. They wanted $3,600 of it, and so we thought, okay, we'll pay that. And then they sent me a letter. Well, the accountant found it on my MyGov thing that I never look at, that I already owed the government another $2,400. So we thought, well, what's going on there? So what happens is in Australia we have a thing called provisional tax, and because you earn $12,000 this year, they say you're probably going to earn $12,000 next year. So instead of having a big bill next year, they bill me every quarter. I've got to pay a quarter of what I've earned. So every quarter, I've got to give them a month's worth of YouTube revenue. So every 3 months, yes, every 3 months I've got to give them one. So I get 2 out of 3 and they get the other one. But then that's ongoing then. Like once I don't get the $3,600 tax bill, I won't get that at the end of next year because I'm paying as I go. So they call it provisional tax, so they presume you've earned it. Even if you haven't earned it, you still owe them. And I didn't know, and they'd sent me a couple of things on the MyGov thing, and I never read it, and they're saying, well, you owe this money. And I said, well, how do I owe that money when you haven't told me about it? And they said, well, we don't send emails out anymore. You got to hop into your MyGov to see what we want to tell you. And I said, well, I didn't know that. So, so there was another $2,400 worth of tax bill just sitting in there waiting for me. And so every quarter from now on, I've got to give them $1,000 roughly out of my YouTube income. And if YouTube income drops down, too bad, you still got to do it. So yeah, so I had a little kitty for YouTube. I don't have a kitty anymore. This will be the time when a nice little Dexter turns up or something like that. So yeah, so they've cleaned the kitty out. Yeah, then Judy and I have got another tax bill to go with it. Then with Queensland Tractor Spares, the company tax, like company tax is 25% now. So so what happens there is that because we're paying over $25,000 a year in PAYG tax, you know, in tax for the staff and that, well, we have to pay our goods and services tax, which is your VAT. We have to pay that every month. So what the tax department has decided that, say we've got to pay $25,000 tax this year, which, you know, it's more than that. But yeah, so for the next year, this provisional tax, every month they want another $2,500 out of us every time. So you haven't earned the money yet. You don't know if your business is going to be good for the next year, but you've got to pay that tax in advance. So that's just how it's rolled. So we're getting double tax with QTS, and we're getting double tax with Bundy Bear Shed. So we could probably account for 50, 70, 80, 70,000 bucks, something like that. No, it mightn't be that much. Be 50, say 60. Anyway, so that's how it goes. So that'll have to shut me up for a little while, eh? That'll sort out the toys. So yeah, we got to chomp through that, which is fine. The Bundy Bear Shed one, we've got all that sorted out. We've had to send them in forms and all that to get that. So that's how it works in Australia. Yeah, you pay tax on what you earned last year, and then you start paying this provisional tax on income that you may or may not earn. But if you pay it this year and you don't earn it, well, they'll give you a little bit back. But they actually have your money. And as per usual with governments, once they got your money, it's harder to get it out of them than it is to give it to them. So anyway, that's how it goes. So yeah, YouTube's, yeah, there's, for this next year, yeah, we're paying a quarter tax straight up, and then we're paying another quarter for what's coming up. So that's about half it gone. So that's all right. Yeah, we'll just just see how we go. But anyway, I suppose everyone does the same. And the tax department sent a letter out saying that any YouTube creators, or if you have a side hustle, whether it's making something and going to the markets, or YouTube or Instagram or all that sort of thing, yeah, they're going to look at side hustles, they call it. So yeah, so we're clear. We've declared it all along. Our sponsorship with Sparex, we had a chat with them the other week, and they've got a new computer system now, and the sponsorship where they used to just give me stuff, that's changing. I'm going to pay a nominal amount for everything now, and look, it's well worth doing still. So, and it's mainly their computer system. Like it's some safety thing they've brought in with the new system that they can't put a $0 something out, and they, you know, they can't put a warranty out for it, and they can't put a zero. So. And that will probably help with the tax department, because all my Sparex parts I have to buy at a very, like, they may as well give it to me, but it's just how it works, you know. But then I'll have an invoice for purchasing all the parts for Bundy Bear's shed. So, so that'll work well too. Like, that's not a bad thing to have an invoice for what you get, to prove to the tax department that you have paid it and it's not just a gift, everything's a gift. So, yeah, so there's nothing wrong. Say I have a part for $100 and I say, oh, g'day Harry, look, have that for $50 today. Well, Harry hasn't got to pay tax on 100. He's paid his $50, so he's right. So with me buying it, paying for it, just a nominal amount, it's a pissy little amount. But that actually works. It works for us okay, so we'll see. But yeah, apart from machining up the brackets for the side of the Landcruiser and doing that part, I was going to get up the end there and sand up those clamps I made last week. I haven't. I've got one of the pins for the clutches now. On the 65 clutch there, yeah, with making the pins, like I've got the steel to make the new pins, but the funny little hole in there, I haven't measured. It looks like 30 degrees or 60 degrees. It wouldn't be 60. That's way less than 60, because that's a centre drill. But I thought, trying to get the hole right and use the original screws, I've chosen to weld those up. I've got one welded and I'm letting it cool down, and then once I do the stew, I'll whiz around and weld the other one. Then through the week I'll machine them back down to 1 inch, and look, that'll be done. That'll be a good thing, one job done. And these holes aren't too bad. Yeah, look, I think I can work with that. Little bit of movement there, but look, not much. We won't worry. So yeah, look, so yeah, a bit of a short stew today because I've been working on the ute and getting ready for our trip away. We're all getting a bit excited about going, and a lot of chatter in the background where we're going, what we're doing, and all that. And I can't wait. I'm a bit ready to go. Oh, the long range fuel tank I put in the Landcruiser. It's a Brown Davis one, and Auto Kit in Bundaberg did it. Nice blokes. I took it back one time because when I fill it right up, it leaks out the fuel sender. And so when we were away down south, going to the Fergie muster and doing the Snowy River run and all that sort of thing, I'd fill both tanks up, but I'd use 100 kilometres worth of fuel out of the reserve tank first, or out of the long range tank first. Anyway, fuel was cheap the other day, $1.77 per litre, and that's cheap. It's back up to $1.85 or $1.89 or something now. And so I filled it up, but then on the carport I'd forgotten about it, and on the carport there's this little puddle, so it's still leaking out. So I hopped in under and I washed it all down, cleaned it all, and they've got like normal Phillips head screws holding the sender in. So last time I took it back, they said, oh, it might have been a couple of them loose. So they tightened that up, and I hadn't filled it up straight away since. So I hopped under there with a light and a mirror, and I nipped a few up, and they were a bit loose, but it didn't fix the problem. That afternoon I still have a little puddle there. So this week the cruisers, fella that owns Auto Kit, I see him out there putting the stuff out one day, so I just pops in and I think it's Jason. Yeah, I saw him there, so I pulled in for a yarn, and he says, oh, come and have a look at the new workshop. So out the back they've painted all the floors beautifully, and they're getting new benches, and yeah, look, their workshop's like a yeah, it's a flash one with all painted floors, and it's looking really nice. It'll be a nice place to work. So today not today, but this week the Landcruiser's got to go back, and they're going to try and pull the sender out and see what's going on. And I said, well, what I'd like, instead of these Phillips head screws that are hard to get to, there's a chance we could pull them out and put Allen head screws, stainless steel Allen head screws around, so you can get a bit of purchase. But the bloke that fitted the tank, he was chucking a paddy when we were in there one day, and so I've asked him to check that all the gaskets are in place and all that. So the Landcruiser's got to go back just for that, which won't be much of a worry, I don't think. Yeah, I told him either Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday suits me, so we'll see how that goes. So anyway, look, thanks for dropping by. There is a few end videos. I've taken a couple of little snippets here and there of the toolbar and what I've been doing over the Paddock and what I've been doing to the Landcruiser. So yeah, that'll do for this week. Stay safe, everyone. We'll catch you next week, and yeah, try and behave yourselves, eh? All right, see ya. Well, we better have a bit of a walk around before the showers come, I suppose, and I'll just show you what we've been up to here. Now, these clamps on the side of the canopy, we used to have these over centre clamps, and they were just relying on a bit of soft old threaded rod to hold the canopy on, and I was never completely happy with it, but I never got around to changing it. So I've had to put a 10mm spacer, 145mm centres, and these panhead Allen head bolts, they're 10mm panhead Allen head bolts. They need to be a little bit longer because where they go through, it's threaded into the canopy where they have a triple thickness, but there's not enough room for a nylon or stainless lock nut on the back. Down the bottom there I've put riv nuts into the tray, so yeah, that's all. Probably, I know it's fairly tidy, but we'll see. Then I've had to cut that corner bracket in and around, and where they had pop rivets there, I've put stainless bolts and riv nuts again, so I can just unscrew those if I ever feel the need. Now, coming up the front here, this bracket here is where our ensuite awning sits. So because we might camp remotely going up to the Cape, we have an ensuite that clips onto there, and that brings a shower tent out probably a metre out here next to the wheel. So we've always in the past had to put, I'll just put this bracket up here. Always in the past we've had to put tent pegs, tent pegs in that eye there, then strap it to the bar here. So I've made a bracket there now, and I've got some very thick duct tape around there. I've used 2 exhaust clamps and a bracket, and that just sits in there. So when we're travelling, this whole bracket folds around under that awning, and this bar, the tent pole, that goes into the awning bag, so it's out of the way, and this little fella here, he folds back down out of the way. I've got that quite firm there. So look, that's that fixed for the moment. The ensuite tent, where it sits on here, like that's very firm now. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit that way, but firm as in twisting. So that's very firm. But the ensuite tent, where the arms come out, they're only about 3mm bolts. So over the next week I'll try and get that done. And yeah, this is just getting ready to go to our Cape trip. So I've got the back on just to, well, the back had to go on mainly just to get the measurements right for all these brackets and things, and I've got them nice and flush with the aircraft tie rails we put on there. So that's okay. We've been over the paddock, we'll go over there shortly. We've got the little fire heap going again. We've been over there picking up sticks and things like that. And when we come around here, that was that little toolbar that was round the back of the container that Chris gave me years ago, a couple of years ago I suppose. The tines, I've got a longer tine in the middle there that I put on. The other ones were already there. So we've got that on the little TEA, and down along the fence line we're putting, we're sort of scuffling that along to try and even it all out a little bit from where the excavator's been. It's just, yeah, very rough down there, so we're running down through there, getting rid of some of the grass, and yeah, just trying to level it out so when the grass grows back how we want it, it'll be a nice easy mow. So yeah, got that going and together. We'll go for a walk over the paddock and I'll show you what we've been doing over there. Yeah, I've been out there with the Bedford picking up sticks, and Judy's been over with the 148 and the carryall. So I've had the Bedford out down the paddock picking up sticks, and I've got it down the side here where we have our tap for washing vehicles, and it's quite dusty, so it's going to have a bath this morning and go back into the shed. But yeah, it was good to give it a run. I still haven't fixed the brakes, but the handbrake works, so you just pull the handbrake on a couple of clicks and away you go. But yeah, I took it down and did some stick picking with it just to give it a run. And the canopy on the back of the Landcruiser was sitting on the back of there. So to get the canopy off and do the brackets that I needed to do through the week, I took it off there, so that left it free. So yeah, so the old Betty, the grandkids were in it, they don't mind. I took Jude for a drive around the paddock. Hey, big date that one. But anyway, we'll go over the paddock. And over here, that's where the plough's sitting. And the blade that was on the Fergie, it's sitting up there now. And we have the harrows round the corner. I was thinking of ploughing over the paddock here, but there's just too much grass and too many roots in that for the moment. So we'll tootle on over. I still have that one bit of tree to sort out, but the main thing with the little toolbar is to run up and down here, try and get a lot of the grass out, and we're actually going to plant it with pastures when we're done, but I do have a lot of sorting out to do yet. Like, you can see the humps and hollers, so I may come through there, like there's low spots in there yet. And yeah, because of the amount of grass in it, I ideal, I suppose, to plough it and turn the grass in and let it rot down for a little while, but there's too many roots and things in there just yet. Like there's just one there, there's a couple of big ones. I'll try and keep this camera still for you. Yeah, there's a big low spot there, and there's a bit of a high spot here, so I'll probably get the loader and push this over into there, and we have another higher spot, just a little ridge going through there, and there's a low spot there, so this here needs to be pushed down into there. So that's the job for the John Deere loader. And this over here, these are some of the roots and that we've dug up. There's quite a few down there, but yeah, I've got to come down now and dig around them and cut them out. So yeah, I've got a bit of work to do down here, but look, it's great fun. It's tractor work. It's yeah, you jump on a little Fergie and you roar along. So they're expecting it to be showers today, so yeah, there's roots there and roots over here, another one over there. So they're expecting showers this morning, so I don't know what I'll get done here, or if I'll get anything done here, but what we don't get done this week we'll do next week. But yeah, I can see the highs and lows, and with the grass off it now, before with the loader you just get a bucket full of grass and you try and get rid of that, then go again, and the grass would bunch up on your blade, and so yeah, it just wouldn't work real well. I could probably do with a set of offset discs, but anyway, the little toolbar that we've got, it's doing the job, and I may come out wider yet, but I need to get rid of these high spots and try and push that into low spots, and yeah, just do nice big long runs down the fence line there. But for the moment, just raking all the grass off and loosening it all up. Yeah, look, it's going to be good enough. Okay, I've got a little inverted welder here sitting on the junk on the bench, but yeah, there's one of the pins. I've got the other one there ready to go, but this fella here, it'll still be heavy. So I've welded all that up, and that'll pop into the lathe, and that keeps this hole for adjustment, and it keeps this hole here where I need it. Yeah, that's a strange taper on there. So anyway, I could probably make a tool, but I don't know, I just thought I'd do this, and there'll be a quick fix. I bought some shaft to make some new ones, but look, in the long run, I could probably turn this off now. Yeah, but in the long run, yeah, this will do the job nicely. Well, I've just been picking up sticks, stoking the fire up this morning. So the sky's a bit dark out through the back there. Bit cloudy for us anyway. But yeah, look, what I was over here to show you was I put some new reversing lights on the Landcruiser. Now they're LEDs, they seem to work well. The original incandescent ones, or standard ones, overnight you were flat seeing. So we've got a couple of LEDs each side now, and yeah, but night time, boy, it made a difference last night when I was coming home in the dark, just backing around the shed here. So yeah, last thing you want to do is back into a tractor that some bastard hasn't put away properly. Yeah. And there you go. I've just hung the ensuite, and that just gives us a changing room. Sits up on the top there. We have a zip down here, and that gives you an enclosure for getting changed, having a shower, putting a toilet in, yeah, whatever you'd like to do while camping. I can set that up in about less than 2 minutes, and the whole frame folds back under that awning there. So I've tightened up all the hinges on the top and fiddled around with that. So look, that's going to be good enough for it. it's quite sturdy. When we it can move back and forth this way just a little bit, but because of the bracketry around the back here, all that there, well, yeah, it's quite firm. Anyway, that's one more job done for the trip away. Yeah, that'll have to do it.